So don't worry, be happy. Today we're going to continue talking about happiness. We're actually going to be using the word well-being. But before we start with that, I wanted to read to you something about synchronicity. Have you guys ever heard that word? Synchronicity? What do you know it to mean?
When things blend together. That's what I thought it was. Could be wrong.
Not necessarily blend, but they're like coincidences, so to speak. They're happening together, right, in synchronous time. So the person who termed this is Jung, and you all know that I'm a Jungian, and he was psychoanalysis, so we have it down there, psychoanalytic. So I'm just going to read something that comes out of this book, the Signs and Symbols book. Jung coined the term synchronicity to describe coincidences of two or more events that he felt could not be due to chance alone. In his 1952 book, Synchronicity and a Causal Connecting Principle, he expounded his theory that this kind of meaningful coincidence of inner and outer experience, and that's the key. Something inner with something outer. How many of you have gone to the store and said, oh my God, I hope I don't bump into anybody, and then you bump into somebody? Yes, that's happened to all of us, and it's like the worst day, we look the worst, we're like, oh my God, I can't see anyone, and then that's the day. That's synchronicity. So an inner and outer experience was not governed by the principle of causality. It's not just coincidence, but was a case of internal psychic states influencing external events. The concept has been used to explain otherwise unaccountable phenomena such as telepathy, astrology, and tarot. So this is a term that Jung coined, and it's used pretty openly. So I'm going to give you each a card that you're going to pick, and I want you to tell me something that comes to mind about it. Something that resonates, a story, a message, anything. Something's telling me to get this one. Inner and outer events. So something internal dictates something external. And this is something that happens in counseling a lot. That's why I tell you to trust your intuition when you're working with people. If you're guided to ask a question, if you're guided to do something. So this morning I had a client, and her husband just recently died, and her legs are giving out. She has hip pain and she has ankle pain. Anything that's from the waist down is the lower body, is like the support. The left side has to do with the feminine, so it's her hip support. Hips also have to do with flexibility and sexuality. And the right ankle, the right side has to do with the men, or the male part of the body. And the ankle has to do with which direction do I take. This happens to be a woman who was married to this man for 50 years, and he did everything for her. So during the middle of the session, I was guided, synchronicity, to pull a card. So that's why I thought of this today. And I pulled a tarot card, and it was the card of the Chariot. And I don't have it here, I have it on my phone, I'll show it to you guys in a bit. Yeah, no, I have it at home. And the Chariot is a picture of someone who is so centered, who's so centered in their own body and dependent on their own connection with the divine and in the earth, that they're basically moving the chariot like a car with their mind. And so we started talking about how she has control over her body. It's the mind-body connection. So that card was not an accident, but rather a message for this client. Okay? So in practice, if you're motivated to say to someone, go to the table and pick up a symbol, or give me the first object that you're thinking of. That's why I'm having you work with symbol and do the symbol library. Or have a deck of cards, and I have a bunch of little different decks. It is so that you can start seeing this person's synchronicity, what they're thinking about inside that has to do with something external. So what's your card?
Comfort.
Comfort? Okay, what does it remind you of?
Infierno?
Whatever you think of. When you got the card, what was the first thing you thought of?
Peace.
Peace? Okay, inner peace? Okay. Anything specific? Did you think of someone?
No.
No? Okay. I thought that you're a Cancer, and Cancer is the moon. Morning. The moon is comfort, the mother is comfort, the breast. So just knowing your client, I would already say, oh, maybe Zulily is thinking of something related to the mom or her own mothering. Maybe that's something that's on her mind. Or maybe your children give you peace. Or maybe when you're with your children, you feel at peace because when they're with their father, you feel like you're less in control. So you could start seeing how these things mean something, just whatever card you want to take.
Could I ask you a question?
Of course.
My friend's father has been having these dreams for like 4 nights in a row with
Okay.
his dead wife, and like they're in a really big like gathering, and everyone's happy and stuff. So he asked me to ask you if you would know anything relating to like any signs in that. I told him that I heard that when it's like something like that it's either someone's gonna be born or someone's gonna die.
Okay, so he is dreaming with his ex-wife,
With his dead wife.
with his dead wife.
Yeah.
Okay, and she's in the dream with him?
Yeah, and he also said that he saw my dad, but he never met my dad.
Okay,
Yeah.
and they're in a
They're
gathering?
in a gathering,
Okay.
and everyone's like
So-
happy, and it's kind of like a party, I guess.
Okay, what are dreams?
The unconscious, or the subconscious, or
Yes.
unconscious?
Yes, the subconscious sort of purging. What happens is we take in all day, every day information. You walk in here and you're seeing each other, but you might not remember what everyone is wearing, you might not remember what's on the table, you might not remember what Mr. Pachi's wearing or I'm wearing, but your subconscious is taking everything in. And at night, it needs to purge. And so oftentimes dreams are a purging, and so we take little pieces and we create a story if it's something that we need to live. I've also heard the gatherings like that are death, almost like if the angels or those that have crossed over are waiting
Yeah.
for someone to, to receive them and
Yeah.
say, good morning, someone to receive them, and that they're saying, I'm waiting for you, the reception committee, so to speak.
Yeah.
I can't just tell you what this
I
means
told
to this
him,
person.
I was like, she's not like a
Because
fortune teller.
you have to have a dialogue with the person
Yeah.
about what symbols and what things mean to them. But what you can ask is, what do gatherings mean to you? What do gatherings in your culture mean to you? Because the big focus here, the big symbol here is the gathering. That there's dead people and that there's people that are alive. So you can ask the client, what do these symbols mean to them? Everybody's individual. Even though I bring in symbol books, as we grow, look, we started the morning talking about tattoos. When I grew up, tattoos were horrible.
Yeah.
Tattoos were the devil.
They still are.
If you had a tattoo, you were the scum of the earth. Now tattoos are an expression, it's art. My daughter has 2, she's on the bandwagon, she's already planning her 3rd one. I said that after my cancer I was gonna get mine. Like, tattoos have moved into a whole other sort of stratosphere in terms of what their meaning is.
Thank God.
So, age, what it means to you in your culture, those are questions you can ask
Yeah,
him. You could use him like as a client.
I told him, because he's sick. He has cancer, he has like a lot of issues with his thing. So when I told him that it could be someone dying, maybe him, and he's like, I'm too young today. I'm like, you're almost 80.
Okay, but look at what he said. I'm too young to die.
Yeah.
You're showing,
He's scared. He's
sort
like,
of-
I'm not gonna die. I'm like, okay, you're gonna stay on Earth like till you're 1,000.
Okay. Okay, so it could be, what does death mean to you? And talk more about death with the person, and help. When we did death and dying, we learned about dying well and how different things can mean little deaths throughout our life and preparing someone to die. We saw that video of that guy who works in hospice for a living and he helps people prepare for death. That's something that maybe you're being called to help with. So that's one thing it could be. But he also said that he's not going to die. Maybe he still has some lived thing in him, and you can ask, what is it yet that you still have to do?
Yeah.
And you can help in that way.
Remember I told you that when I had a seizure, I saw his wife and my dad in the background. I never met his wife. And I saw her like digging in the sofa for papers. So when I got out of the seizure, like a day or so after, I asked him about why I saw his wife digging for papers and my dad was in the background like all serious. And so I was like, you need to check on some papers, something. So he checked with his lawyer on the papers of the house that he left his daughter with, and she told him, you gave her the house. Like you passed the title to her.
Okay, so now he can fix that.
No, he can't.
Oh, he can't?
He can't. He literally just gave it to her, like signed over the...
Okay, but he
The
got some
will.
piece of information.
Yeah, but he's pissed. He's like, I can't believe I did that.
Okay, but maybe now he can die with peace, knowing that there's something. But that's exactly synchronicity. And dreams are a key part of synchronicity. We don't dream accidentally. There's a message in there.
I've been
So
having,
definitely
my
union.
mom and my ex-stepdad, they were together since I was like 8 years old, and they broke up 2 years ago. And we used to live in this house, and since they broke up, it's been 2 years already, and I keep on dreaming about coming back to the house. And he's already married, he has a whole wife, but I keep dreaming about like the house, but I dream like if we're going back to the house, like going back to the house and being there again. And I've had those dreams like a lot of times. So I asked myself, I'm like, what does that mean? And I would ask my mom, she'd be like, I don't know.
The home, the physical home, has to do with your inner space. It's very third chakra. And tomorrow, I don't know if we're going to get to the chakras today, but Thursday we're going to dedicate the whole class to chakras. So wear comfy clothes, just because we're going to lay down. Remind me to bring a sheet. So if you guys get grody about the floor, I don't, but I know some people do. And we'll do some chakras. I brought the pendulum in case we get to it today, but I have quite a few things I want to cover today, so we might not get to it. But the third chakra has to do with the inner home, the inner state of how we feel with ourselves. So maybe in that space you felt at home, maybe you felt safe, maybe you felt that it was reminiscent of something in you that you miss now. It could be many things, but a physical home, usually when we move, that is a traumatic thing. In the stress scale, the biggest things that cause stress are death, divorce, and moving. So imagine you had a divorce and moving all in the same year. So you're dealing with, good morning, you're dealing with still probably some of the psychic remnants of that. But the symbology, the symbolism of the home, you can sit. Oh. The symbology of the home has to do usually with the home that we've created inside. So look at where you are in terms of what you want to be and what you want to do with your life. Okay? So Nicole, what card did you get?
Courage.
Courage, okay. What comes to mind, a story, a thing? What comes up with that?
I'm gonna need courage to get through everything right now.
Okay, so is it synchronous? Is it
Yeah.
relevant to what's going on? Is there something specific you need to get through? Look at the words that she said, get through.
My asshole dad, a complicated mom. My bad hair dye job.
It matches your shirt perfect. I was thinking about getting red or pink on mine.
Well, the bottom is, she knows.
So getting through, think of what the client says. What does getting through mean?
When you're stuck in a place and you have to like push yourself out of that place, or like, I don't know, I always think of like, I'm not thinking of like nasty stuff, but like,
It's okay.
you're tight and then you're trying to get through, like. and
Okay,
you
but
can't
get through to
do
the other side.
Yeah, you can.
So just in her language, this is what I want you to pay attention when you're talking to
Maybe like
clients.
just get this over with already.
It could be that she's
Yeah.
in a hurry and she's stuck and there's a
Yeah.
slowing down, but getting through, she knows that there's another side to it. So even though she might feel stuck, psychologically, and it's positive thinking, it's very positive psychology, she knows that there's another side to it. There's another side to this coin. She knows this is not forever. That is a really important thing in positive psychology. Does the client understand that what they're going through is temporary? And getting through is terminology for that. You had something to say?
Yes, I was flipping through the book and I stopped in one place.
Courage. Okay, synchronicity?
Wow.
Yeah, right?
In this situation, you need to act upon your convictions, even if others disagree. I'm protecting you from harm and guiding you to be a loving warrior of light. As you stand up for your beliefs, you're a role model for others. This is an important form of spiritual teaching in which your example gives others courage to also stand up for their own principles.
And that describes perfectly what I need to do. Like literally, it's on the T. I think that's my next tattoo. That's might be my next
Synchronicity.
tattoo.
So synchronicity we're talking about is a Jungian term that he coined, and it has to do with the inner in coincidence or causality with the outer, and that there's no such thing as coincidence. So we just pulled some cards. I'll let you pull.
How funny though. She stops on that page.
But you see how funny, but it's not. And in counseling, we don't think of a question or think of a situation and go, oh, how funny. No, we use it.
I wish I picked that card you just mentioned.
We use it to lead in a discussion with a client. And so today, I was talking to my client and I felt her husband walk in the room. So intuitively, it's something that I do and it's part of the work and my clients expect that of me. I'm not saying that that's going to be exactly what you're going to say to your clients. But because I have this type of, practice, this is something not unusual. Adriana? No. So, see, she's getting a tattoo. Poke, poke, poke.
That's this morning. He's like, "What's up, G?" What's up, G?
So he walks in the room, and I said to her, your husband is here. And I felt it, and I gave her the message that he had to say to her.
I would have cried.
You would have cried?
I
Okay.
would have cried.
And that's okay. Of course, she gets emotional. Last week I had her also, and he also came, and her mom showed up. So I'm not saying necessarily that you're going to have the experience of channeling dead people, but you may, as you're getting in the middle. Why during an epileptic seizure is Paula getting a psychic message? Because she's so disassociated from the body. That's when we get connected. That's what we call flow
That sounds
in
crazy
positive
and cool.
psychology.
It sounds crazy and cool.
No, it does. And I described his wife to him and the dress code and everything, and he's like, yeah, it was crazy. I'm like, I never met this lady at all. I met them my dad and her
And she
died
does
at
exactly
the same
how
time.
he
Yeah,
described you.
yeah,
That's crazy.
and I think he even said the dress code was the same way what she used in the funeral thing.
And that's not uncommon when people have mental health issues. One of the things that Jung wrote was a book called Jung and Shamanism. I don't know if he wrote it, someone must have wrote it about him. And a lot of the concepts that come from Jung, Joseph Campbell, who studied a lot of myth, they talked about people having what we call a spiritual emergency. That oftentimes spiritual emergencies come through as mental health issues. In India, you'll see people, have you ever been downtown? There's people that are standing on the street corner and they're screaming scripture and they're, ranting about God and Jesus is coming to save you and all of that. Well, in India, a lot of people are on the street. Those people are actually revered because those people are believed that they have a connection with the divine because they're dissociated from their body. So when Paula's in the middle of a seizure, she's dissociated from the body. She is getting some divine insight. When in positive psychology, we talk of the term flow, it's when we're doing something that we are so connected to that thing that we're doing that time just flies. That's what happens to me when I teach. That's why I'm like, is it time already? When I see you guys starting to pick up. I'm so in the flow of whatever we're doing that I am like at my happiest, and flow is a component of happiness or of well-being and of positive psychology. So that's one of the terms that we hear in this realm of psychology. And it has to do with the fact that we're in what we're doing so comfortably, we feel like it's a part of us. So when you're with a client and you're really, really with that client, hi. Oh, is he yours?
Oh, hi, Casey. Yes.
When you're with that client and something comes up that you think about, that's a synchronicity. That's an indication that you should ask this client about that particular thing. Don't ignore it. It may not be at that moment that's relevant, of course, if the client's in the middle of a story, but you make a note in your notebook because you're in the flow with the client as you're talking to them, and you're like, oh, that's something important. And that's how I do my practice. The thing is that one of the things that my clients come for is to talk to my divine guidance. So I'll be like, the guides are saying, but you don't have to in practice say your guides. It is your guidance. That's exactly what it is. It's your intuition. And so these are the synchronicities that we're talking about. Stacy, what card did you get?
The most awesomest one. Counselor.
The most awesomest one.
Yeah.
Talk about, and she wanted the other one. Did you see that? You didn't need courage. You got counselor.
I know.
What does it feel to you? What story or what did it evoke?
Because, like, you know how you always mention a lot of the times in the class, we all feel like we're once a counselor to our friends.
Yes, that's you. And you're in a counseling program.
I was like, oh my God.
Awesome. So that's right on point. Shayla, what did you get?
I don't know. I feel like this actually like was meant to be, and like I don't understand. Like it says victory, and I think about like overcoming,
Okay.
like overcoming stuff, and then I actually read what it says here. It says your prayers have been heard and answered. Have faith, and it's
Synchronicity? Okay.
because I've actually been going through some health problems and stuff, and I've actually been praying a lot. And then I read that, and it's like, it's crazy because I've actually, like, they have been answered. And
But listen to the words. It's
You should've-
crazy.
you should've
It's like we
answered.
can't believe that this is happening because
Yeah.
it's the synchronicity.
Oh my God, you should have been in the beginning. Like, you could just hear her voice right now. These are not accidents. These are
They aren't. They're not. That's why when you get something in a session, that's one of the reasons why I ask you, why are you asking the question? What is happening in you, intrapsychically, that you're asking that question to the client? I want to hear what happened. And oftentimes it will be that you're just feeling something and intuitively you're being guided to ask that question. Absolutely okay. Perfect. Wendy? What card did you get? Clairaudience. Okay, so clairaudience is listening, getting beyond of listening. Do you resonate with clairaudience at all? Okay, that's a very typical a very typical way that counselors get information. It's kind of like you hear this little voice in your head, your intuitive voice. So that is actually something very relevant for counseling professions, okay? So you can have decks. I have all types. I have archetypes, I have labyrinth, I have archangels, fairies.
I'm just about to do that right now.
All types, and you can ask a client to pull a card, and you can start a conversation, especially if it's a new client. What if it's someone that's young, a teenager? Are you gonna take a picture?
Or you did.
Oh, okay. If it's someone that's young that maybe you don't know, this is a cool way to sort of get them excited about, oh, that's cool. What does that say? And then you can read to them what comes out from the book.
There's an app that does that too now.
Yeah.
That
It's
gives
my
you cards?
astrology app, and it describes me perfectly. As
Okay,
well.
and we're
What's
doing
the app?
astrology class
What's the
after class for anyone who wants to stay.
Okay.
Okay, we're gonna do a little mini intro class. Okay, so, positive psychology. We're gonna start by taking the Oxford Happiness Questionnaire.
If anyone wants to know, it's Astro Matrix.
Astro Matrix, okay.
You do your birth chart and everything on there.
Okay.
Astro
Oh, yeah.
Astro Matrix.
And
Watch
it's
me
free.
good.
Matrix.
Matrix. It'll describe you perfectly, like, and it'll tell you the days that you're gonna go through it, which is kind of cool. But then you don't want to know. Like, I
I'll
already
stick to
know.
the I don't want to know part.
I was like, yeah, that was the I don't want to know fact.
Let it randomly hit me.
Did everyone sign in?
No.
No, I didn't.
Okay, so we're gonna do
I don't
the
know.
Oxford
Come on, come on, go grab one.
Questionnaire.
I have another kind of
Oh. And it's 28 questions.
Ah, I didn't do that.
And this is the grading. 1 is strongly disagree.
I don't know where I got it.
Thank you.
Just read it. It's fine.
2 is moderately disagree.
You're a dispatcher.
3 is slightly disagree.
Yeah, the paper cut off a little bit.
Yeah, that's why I'm putting the scoring on the board, because it cut off. 4 is slightly agree. So you're gonna put 1 to 6 based on these criteria. And then 5 and 6 you have, which is moderately agree.
I'm strongly agree.
And 6 is strongly agree. So go ahead and take this, and then we'll talk about happiness. And this is called the Oxford Happiness Scale. And we're gonna do a few scales today. Yes? Oh, the R means reverse grading. When we grade it, I'll explain that to you.
So just number it. If you
Yeah,
can
just
make
do your 28, and then we'll do the grading together.
those.
Julie, we're doing the Oxford questionnaire, I just left that for you, and those 1 through 6 are the ways that you grade it.